contending with a team like the Dodgers this year.
That might be a bit more of a pipe dream than a daydream, but I do think there's some things to be optimistic about with the Diamondbacks. Let's start with last season and the improvement they made from 2021 to 2022. Now, the obvious thing that jumps out on this board, still a losing record. These other teams, all contenders, made the postseason. But still, credit where credit's due. A 22-win improvement is certainly significant for the D-backs. Matty, they hit their over-under with about 3 weeks left in the season. We've talked about that with the Orioles, how early they were. D-backs were that team in the National League. Now we'll start with the top of the rotation, their opening day starter, Zach Gallen, who was one of the best pitchers on the planet in the second half of the season. He had a 10-start stretch where he gave up just 7 runs. It's the fewest in any 10-start stretch in Diamondbacks history. Randy Johnson, for context, his best stretch with the D-backs, 14 runs over 10 starts. Now, how about in the infield, or potentially in the outfield with his versatility, but Ketel Marte, we did the top 10 right now show for second base last night. He was still in the back end of the list despite a few down seasons since that 2019 year where he finished 4th in NL MVP voting. He bounces back. That's an all-star caliber player. But maybe the most exciting thing about this team looking forward, guys, is what they have in the outfield. You look at this board of the most wins above replacement by outfielders. Again, the Diamondbacks find themselves among a number of contenders. Now, it should be stipulated that a good portion of that was Dalton Varsho, who they traded, but they still have all of these guys. Corbin Carroll right now, Matty, the favorite at BetMGM for National League Rookie of the Year at plus 400. Jake McCarthy was a guy that we actually had to consider for the top 10 right now show, which snuck up on us a little bit, but a really solid season. And then Alec Thomas came up, played every game in center field, and was a finalist for the Gold Glove. Now, how about looking back to the 2020 season? It's so easy to forget what happened in that shortened year. And how about Kyle Lewis? This is a guy we just don't talk about very much anymore. Unanimous Rookie of the Year in that shortened season, ends up in Arizona. So he's another piece that'll be in spring training with them. Could be a platoon outfielder, 4th outfielder type. Obviously, tons of potential there coming off a couple injury-plagued seasons. So, guys, that's what they have to look forward to this year. But if we want to keep on that outfield train, how about a guy we talked to earlier in the week coming up? He could be here, not this season, but he could be a fast mover, and that's, Drew Jones, Andrew Jones' son. You look at the scouting grades from MLB.com, potential 5-tool player, 2nd overall pick in the draft, got over $8 million to sign. So obviously a lot to look forward to there. Guys, where do you come down on the D-backs and their prognosis going forward?
Well, I'll start this one, Rip. Just quickly, I think they are markedly improved. And this is one of those teams, along with some other ones we've mentioned the last few weeks, that I'm really eagerly anticipating what the statistical community thinks of in terms of a win total and what the betting market thinks in terms of a win total. We didn't even really talk about the Dalton Varsho, Lourdes Gurriel trade there. I think adding Lourdes Gurriel is huge for that team, even though they'd give up a very good player. They're going to be a lot better this year. Are they good enough to play with the Dodgers? That remains to be seen.
Yeah,
they're a lot better.
So. And then you look at the Padres, too, because I think that actually, in my opinion, right now, as I sit, that's the team that people should be looking at in the West. But I don't want to go any further than Torey Lovullo, the manager with the D-backs. And I applaud Arizona for they dismantled that club, right? And then they went out and they extended Torey Lovullo a few years back. And I think that was a great move right there. I think the guys go play for him. And it's nice to see a little conviction come down from the front office, because we're in a sport world, not just baseball, everywhere. Somebody loses, bam, they're gone. And I like the fact that you have a little bit of consistency out there in Torey Lovullo, the manager, and I know that those players go out there and play for him. So I think that's a great move right there all by itself.
Longo, I mean, right, nice ad for really a very small investment and almost a player-coach presence in that lineup now. And I don't know that you can count on 162 from Longo at this stage of his career, but what he gives you is going to be good when he's out there. I'll say this too, Keith. A team like the Diamondbacks are among the teams that benefit most from a now balanced schedule. No longer do they get beat up by the Padres and Dodgers 36 times a year. They're out there, and I think it's going to help them in the long term. Yeah, that's a good point, Matty, and I'm glad you brought up Gurriel, because you look at that lineup in the bottom half of it, Longo, Gurriel, even Carson Kelly and Nick Ahmed, more defensive players, but that is a pretty deep lineup given where they were at in the standings 1 through 9. So I'm with you guys. They're one of the more improved clubs in the game. You bet. Keith, thank you. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we are going back to school with a coach who has put some pretty impressive arms in the big leagues out of Northeastern University. Mike Glavin joins us next on Hot Stove.
I played with him up in Alaska one summer.
Just don't let us look stupid.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Have you ever made milkshakes out of snow? If I was a writer, I'd be dangerous.
We're going back to school this morning, and we've been doing this all off-season long. It's been a lot of fun to talk to college coaches around the country about their program, about their recruiting process, their facilities, what they do at the collegiate level, and it's really special, and we've spoken to a few guys that check this box. When there's a coach at a college that he played at and has returned to coach and done such a good job there, and that description applies to Mike Glavin, who is at his 9th season at his alma mater at Northeastern. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on.
It's got to be special for you, right? I mean, this is where you played. This is where you got your education. You've got almost a decade of skin in the game there now. You were an assistant before you became the head coach. It has to be a special thing to coach at your alma mater.
Yeah, it really is. You know, I played here from 92 to 95, and, you know, was fortunate enough to play a little bit of minor league baseball for a while. So I was away from Northeastern after graduating and was away for about 10 or 12 years. And when I came back again for an alumni event, and I just fell in love with the place again. It had changed so much from when I was a student athlete here. It's just an incredible, beautiful urban campus right in downtown Boston, walking distance to Fenway. So as a coach, you definitely have a little extra feeling as an alumnus that, you know, you don't want to let the alumni down, the friends and supporters of the program and your former teammates that you know, will reach out to me after a big win or a tough loss. So there's definitely that added fun and pressure to want to do well.
So, Mike, you said you played in the minor leagues a little bit, but also got a cup of coffee, right? And got that big league knockout of the way. You remember that one? And tell me about that.
Yeah, I would definitely. I'd a sip of coffee. I wouldn't call it a full cup, but you know, I have no bones about it. I was a career minor leaguer. I probably had minor league bat speed for sure, but I did get a call up to the big leagues, and I got a base hit off of Braden Looper. Last game of the season, I believe that was the year the Marlins. It was against the Marlins in Miami. That was the year they won the World Series. So obviously a moment I'll never forget. But I know my limitations. I know my playing career. I was a minor leaguer all the way, but it was obviously a special moment to be in the big leagues.
Do you think there's any part of, okay, what your story was? You went to school there, you played in the minor leagues, and I love your, I guess, self-awareness, and you said, this is who I was. But do you think that might actually carry more weight with some of your players now? Because you knew what it was like. This game's not easy. And the fact that you got to the big leagues, you got a knock. But I think your story might be able to help some of these guys over somebody who played 15 years in the big leagues that might be the head coach.
Yeah, I'd like to think so, right? Like, that's the type of program we try to have, you know, and I think we're looking for a gritty, tough, blue-collar, hard-nosed program, grinders here. You know, I certainly want all my players to have aspirations and our recruits to play in the big leagues, of course, and have that goal and dream and want to work towards that every day. But we talk a lot about being where your feet are, and I try to balance it a little bit. I don't want to be that guy that's talking about the glory days to my team, but I try to explain to them just how precious this time is in college and what a great time of their lives it is, and how every game matters, right? The differences between pro ball and college baseball, I don't think they've changed a lot since I played, as far as the actual, you know, wins and losses and that sort of stuff. College baseball, there's so much passion and energy, and every game is almost like its own season. Where in the minor leagues, you know, you're playing 140 plus games, and you're really trying to put up your numbers, and you're trying to advance to another level, and sometimes winning becomes secondary. So I just really try to impress upon our guys the value of the hard work, the dedication, the grind. You know, things don't come easy for us here at Northeastern. We have to work for it, and really enjoy being where your feet are, because college baseball is a special place, and it's a lot of fun when all these games matter. Yeah,
I want to ask you a little bit further about that, Mike, about being at Northeastern specifically and the recruitment process. When you're out there looking for players, it's a very kind of crowded space just in the Boston area alone. I mean, Boston, as you know better than me, it's so dense with colleges that you're competing in your own backyard as well as nationally. Talk about that and some of the challenges you faced and maybe some of your strategies in that regard.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Boston's such a great place to go to college. You know, like you said, it's so dense. There's so many tremendous colleges and universities here. But you know, I think our philosophy, I think it just makes sense for us and who we are and where we're located. We talk about being Northeast made all the time. You know, if you look at our roster, it's all New England, New York, New Jersey, a little bit of Canada, right? So not because we don't want to recruit nationally. We know all the country is loaded with baseball players from California to Georgia to Texas to Florida, but it really doesn't make a lot of sense for us from a financial standpoint, from a time standpoint, and really, you know, let's face it, do those kids in those warm weather states want to come and play in the cold weather, you know, early in our season? So we really just focus in our backyard. That's our philosophy. Try to be great in New England and the Northeast, get those kids that grew up in this weather, that maybe had to play in a lot of tough conditions, and that fit the type of player that we're looking for. So really that's been our strategy, is just focus. We get to see kids more often, obviously, when they're in our backyard here in the Northeast. We get to develop those relationships that are crucial with the high school and summer coaches. And again, just knowing who we are as a program. I think it makes, you know, all the sense in the world for us to stay in our backyard, stay in the Northeast. And there are a lot of talented players. And you can even look at that from the big league level on down, not just college baseball, but there's a lot of players from the Northeast playing in the big leagues now. So there's a great opportunity for us to recruit in this area.
So, Mike, let's go a little bit further on that, because we know the tough conditions. You guys start in February as far as the baseball seasons go. So you have to have the southern swing to start with, though, because we know it's a little bit crazy here where we are, but where you are, it's even worse. So what's your swing? What's your first road trip of the year to get going?
Yeah, so the first month is a grind, right? But we love it. Again, that's who we are. So we open up on the road pretty much the first 4 weekends. So a traditional, you know, schedule for us is the first 2 weekends, our guys are still in class. So we will travel on Thursdays. We'll typically go south. We'll play somewhere in North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida. We'll go down on a Thursday, play a 3-game series, fly home Sunday night. The guys are back in school on Monday, going to class Monday through Thursday for that first weekend. We'll do that again the next weekend. We'll fly out Thursday, go play somebody. For this year in particular, we play the Red Sox down in Fort Myers, which is an awesome perk for our program. We play at JetBlue Park. And so we'll play those guys our second weekend, stay in Florida, play a 3-game series there. And then we come home again. Guys are back in class for that week. And then it's our spring break. So we typically stay on the road now for those next 2 weekends. You know, so for us this year, it's, you know, going down and playing South Florida for a weekend series, staying on the road, play Duke midweek on our way up as we work towards playing a conference weekend, that fourth weekend. So every year we're on the road for the first 4 weekends. There's some travel down and back. It's a high academic institution here, so our guys, it's a grind for them. But we love it. It's a chance for us to build chemistry early in the season, get to know each other a little better, challenge ourselves on the road, and kind of see what team we have before we start conference play. But the first 4 weekends are where it really gets tough before hopefully we play our first home weekend around March 15th up here if the weather cooperates.
Mike, Harold Reynolds is usually with us on this program, not in the studio today, but he always wants to jump in here. He's called in. He's got some questions for you. HR, you're on with Mike Glavin.
What's happening, brother? How you doing?
What's up, Harold? Thanks for calling in.
What's your advice to those youngsters that are in those cold weather areas?
Well, grind, baby, grind. Use it to your advantage. You know, I think one of the things that we've had so many more indoor facilities pop up here in the Northeast the last few years or decades. So take advantage of those indoor facilities. Take advantage of those good days. Now, we're talking about the weather here a little bit. It's going to be 50 degrees here this weekend. So there's an opportunity for Northeast teams to get out this weekend already here in January. So take advantage of those good weekends when you